From the great times of being super successful to dealing with challenges, ESPN's journey is like a roller coaster ride. Let's dive into the story, discovering the fantastic moments when ESPN was on top and the difficulties that followed. This is the story of ESPN from success to struggles, and we're about to share the whole story. Embarking on the 90s sports journey. In the late 90s, ESPN was my daily sports companion. Before and after school, I eagerly tuned in to the classic Sports Center, hosted by Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann. These two created a magnetic atmosphere, turning sports discussions into thrilling experiences. Their dynamic chemistry made talking about sports not just informative, but genuinely exciting. ESPN became a portal into the captivating world of sports, enhancing my daily routine. The cool vibes from Patrick and Olbermann made it more than just a channel. It was a shared adventure for sports enthusiasts like me, creating lasting memories of a golden era in sports broadcasting. ESPN's golden decade, the 90s extravaganza. The 90s is often called the golden era for ESPN, and for good reason. It wasn't just a sports network, it was a cultural phenomenon that left an indelible mark. This era saw the introduction of extreme sports, injecting an extra dose of excitement into the mix. ESPN also secured major sports packages, including the coveted NFL Sunday Night and baseball, propelling it to unprecedented heights. The network became a vital part of our lives, transcending the label of a mere sports channel. It became a shared experience, a cultural touchstone for sports enthusiasts. The 90s at ESPN were a thrilling extravaganza, where sports and culture seamlessly intertwined, creating lasting memories for fans and solidifying ESPN's place as an iconic force in the world of sports entertainment. A mid-80s twist, the ABC takeover. In the mid-80s, ESPN faced a tough spot in its journey. Getting sports programming was a real struggle, but in 1984, ABC stepped in to help by buying ESPN. The next year, Capital Cities Communications took over ABC, and suddenly ESPN was part of the ABC-ESPN group for the next decade. This twist was a crucial time for ESPN. It had to deal with challenges and change things to keep going. 1996, Disney takes charge. Fast forward to 1996, and something big happened to ESPN. The Walt Disney Company took over after buying Capital Cities. Back then, we didn't know this would change ESPN's path. But instead of adding something magical, Disney's influence brought some mistakes. These missteps slowly led ESPN to a tough time, so 1996 became a turning point, marking a time of big changes and challenges for the sports network. Hey guys, subscribe now to make sure you catch every chapter of this transformation. And let's now explore together how ESPN went from being cool to a bit controversial. An evolution in anchors, from cool to controversial. In the good old days with Olbermann and Patrick, ESPN was awesome. They made talking about sports super cool and enjoyable, but things took a turn. New faces like Stephen A. Smith came in, and suddenly, it became more about them showing off and making noise rather than giving us good sports info. The vibe changed from sharing interesting sports stories to just trying to grab attention with loud arguments on TV. Controversies and character attacks. When ESPN went through some major changes, it faced serious problems. There was a time when a female anchor did something really not cool, dragging someone's character through the mud over a DUI from 13 years ago. This wasn't what ESPN used to be about, just covering sports. It seemed like they shifted from talking about sports to more personal attacks. This made it less enjoyable for fans who just wanted to hear about sports, and ESPN got a bit tangled up in controversies and personal fights. Internet onslaught. A secondary source emerges. In the late 90s, the internet became a new way for people to get sports news. Before, ESPN was the main place for sports lovers, but now, there is competition from the internet. More and more people started looking for sports updates online. and ESPN felt the impact. Less people were tuning in like before because they found other places on the internet to follow sports. It was like ESPN had to share the spotlight with the internet, and some fans started choosing different platforms to keep up with their favorite sports news. Disney's dilemma: cutbacks and layoffs. Disney, the big company in charge of ESPN, had a tough time dealing with ESPN's problems. They had to make cutbacks, which meant they started spending less money. This caused some issues, especially for the people working at ESPN. Many of the sports anchors, the folks we love seeing on TV, had to say goodbye because of these changes. ESPN going downhill is a big example of how regular TV and media are struggling with the internet taking over. It's not just ESPN, it's like a bigger problem for all the old-school ways of showing and sharing news and entertainment. Disney had to make some hard choices, and it affected the favorite sports channel and the people who worked there. The unraveling continues: recent cuts and departures. In recent times, Disney has been trying to spend less money at ESPN, and it's making things unravel even faster. Some big names like Max Kellerman, Jalen Rose, and Keyshawn Johnson had to leave ESPN. It's like a new part of ESPN's journey, but it's not a happy one. These departures are a sign that things are getting even more complicated for the sports network. Disney's choices are making ESPN change a lot, and it's not always for the better. The famous people we used to see on ESPN are leaving, and it feels like the network is going through a tough time. Reflections on the decline: a nostalgic melancholy. For people like us who grew up when ESPN was at its best, seeing it slowly become less popular is a bit sad. The sports channel we used to love, which told us exciting stories about our favorite games, is not as strong as it used to be. It's like a reminder of how tough it is for regular TV channels in a world that's always changing, especially with the internet. ESPN isn't as mighty as before, and it makes us feel a bit nostalgic. It shows how hard it is for the old ways of sharing news and entertainment to keep up. ESPN used to be a big deal, but now, it's like a faded memory of the awesome sports channel we once knew. The end of an era? When we think about ESPN's journey, we can't help but feel a bit nostalgic for the amazing days it once had. ESPN used to be a pioneer, a special channel all about sports. Now, it seems like it's struggling in a world that's changing fast, especially with the internet. The story of ESPN going from the top to facing tough times is like a warning for other media companies dealing with the challenges of the digital age. We wonder if ESPN can become as great as it once was, or if it'll just be a memory of the past. It's a big question that hangs in the air, especially in the world of sports broadcasting. The rise and fall of ESPN is like a lesson for everyone trying to make it in today's fast-paced media landscape. As we conclude talking about ESPN's story, we want to know what you think. Any cool memories with ESPN or thoughts on how sports TV is changing? Leave a comment and share your take on this journey. Your thoughts make this conversation more interesting. Until next time, keep the sports chatter alive.